Today on the Leslie and Lisa show, we're going to get some insight from a television writer.
And he was my homecoming date, so we can get some insight there too.
Uh-oh. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Leslie and Lisa show.
Hey, welcome to the Leslie and Lisa show. We're going to talk about anything and everything because nothing is off limits. Hi, Lise.
Hi, Les.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Listen, I want to tell our audience that you are fancy. You are coming out of COVID retirement.
I am. I'm coming out of COVID retirement too.
Lisa got a job.
I got a job. My
Lisa's
first
working.
Yeah.
Woo! I mean, not that we're not working doing this.
Yeah, no, we're working, but this
You're
job
getting
pays.
a job that you're getting paid for.
And it's funny because everything's so okay. I get emails yesterday that are, here's all the videos you have to watch, all the safety videos. And I had to take quizzes to make sure I was paying attention.
No way, like you're at the DMV or
Like
something.
it is exactly like that.
Oh my God, okay.
Then I had, all the regular paperwork plus all the COVID paperwork.
Wait, I'm sorry. The videos, by the way, is this like a what to do on set?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Then I have a fitting tomorrow. So today I had a COVID test.
Okay.
Then I'll get another COVID test before I work. And then in the email, it was like, please live your life in these ways so that when you come to set, you're not.
Really?
Yeah. It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Okay. Here's the problem. And it was an SNL sketch this past weekend. Live your life in these ways. The problem is that everyone's definition of what these ways are so wildly different. Okay, wait. Still sticking to your job, and then we can talk about that SNL sketch. Anyways, are we allowed to say what you're going to work on?
I don't know. I don't know, Les.
I kind of feel like we can, but I don't think it's a big deal to name the show. Let's just say this. It's a show that Lisa's been on 3 seasons in a row.
Well, right. Yeah, no, you're right.
Right?
No,
Yeah. All right. So people, do the math on your own. It's a show she was on a couple years ago.
Right.
She going back. Okay.
So
that's what we'll say. I'm so excited for you, though.
I'm excited, and I got to be honest, I'm very nervous, not really about the work, but about like Leslie.
Yeah. It must be crazy. I can't even imagine.
I haven't been around anyone but my immediate family.
Which is fantastic, but just, I wouldn't be nervous. I mean, I would be nervous, but like, aside from that, I would be nervous about like, there's so many different protocols to follow. And I'm sure you'll have a PA constantly telling you what you might be doing wrong or what you're doing right. You're okay.
Right.
But I'd be nervous that I'd be like, oh my God, like even craft service, there's no craft service anymore.
There is none.
Order. You're just like, I would like 3 crackers and a slice of cheese. And they're like, we'll put it in your trailer. Actually, no, Danielle Nicolay told us she just brought her own snacks to work.
Which is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm going to do and I'm sure I'll eat their food too, but I get nervous if I don't have food around.
By the way, we're talking about you going back to work, and what do we immediately talk about? Crafty.
Yeah.
Service. Probably one of the most important components to working on a set.
Well, listen, it really is, because there is no other job unless you're like at Yahoo or Google or one of those places
that has the kind of setup that a set has.
It's the best.
It's so funny because when people come to visit, I haven't worked for a while, but when people would come to set, I'd be like, let's go to Crafty. And it would be like, kids just go, oh my God. Because it literally is anything you could possibly imagine and more. It's right there.
And it's seriously like, I remember the first couple times I was on a set, like you would walk into the kitchen and be like, what, can I take one of these bagels? And they're like, yeah, they're yours. And you're like, okay, I'm cutting it. I'm going to put it in the toaster. You're telling me I just get this for free?
All of it. And more.
And more than just bagels.
More than bagels.
Yes.
Is there an actual bagel place?
No, more than waffles.
Oh, it's more than waffle. Well, we've just opened up a new restaurant called More Than Bagels.
All right, listen, our guest is in the room, but
He is?
he is, but we
I have so much more to talk about you with, or
Well,
talk
we
about with
with
you.
but we can
Right.
talk for a minute. I told him, he would have to wait a second. We can talk for a minute
He'll
about the
wait.
fact
Just kidding.
that everybody's version of being safe seems to be
Is
different.
wildly different. Listen, it's the the thing I used to always joke about this whole COVID thing was when we first went into lockdown 50 years ago. I think what was so seemingly new to everybody was washing one's hands, which I, as a clean freak, found so strange. I was like, don't you always wash your hands?
Like all day after you touch anything that isn't.
I mean, I
Yeah.
go outside to do whatever and I walk back in and I wash my hands.
So
no matter
I'm exactly
what
the same.
I did. Anyways, but so I think everybody's definition of everything is so different. And SNL, I'm sure this show will post like a month after we're talking about this
Yes.
sketch, but go back and see it if you hadn't. The brilliant Dan Levy was on SNL this past weekend, and there was a great sketch about them getting together for the Super Bowl, and like they all had masks on. It was this whole thing about like, are we okay? Do you feel like we can take off our mask?
And everyone's like, yeah, we're all safe. We've all been safe.
I see my sister and her husband, and then her husband, and then her brother and his sister-in-law, and then the 30 other people at work. But aside from that, I'm good. It's just hilarious. And I was like, God, this is so brilliant. They're so good at commenting on what is currently literally in front of us.
Yes. And the thing is, look, last weekend, patios opened up dining in LA.
In
and
LA, yeah.
the day they opened up, I passed like 12 of them where they were packed. And I just thought, I'm nowhere near ready to do that, nor do I need to.
But I think you going back to work, that'll be a nice, like that's your entree into getting back to life.
Yes.
I'm so envious. I think it's fantastic. I think it's going to be so good for you.
I hope so. I think it will too. I do.
I think on that set, due to the ages of some people, they're going to be I think they're intensely careful on every show, but I think
they are.
Show in particular.
I think it's going to be hilarious how careful they are.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's got to be in the scripts. Like I would imagine they're shooting current day. I don't know.
I don't. Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah.
So.
No, we can't.
Anyways, you're gonna have a blast. All right, let's talk to our guest.
So joining us today, most importantly, is my homecoming date from 1987. But he also is an insane.
Were you a queen? Was he a king? No.
What?
Right. That would be a no. Anyways, go ahead.
I'm so offended by the fact that you would even ask that question, but he has grown from being my homecoming date to an incredibly successful comedy writer. And he is so funny and smart and wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Finkel. I got to get better at the timing. I got to be like, ladies and gentlemen, Dave Finkel.
Dave Finkel. Dave Finkel.
Hello.
Hi.
Dave, go like this. I want to see the tatters. Lift your arm again.
Oh, I have dumb stuff all over me.
I want to see.
Wait, what is that guy?
Wait, what's
this guy?
that? It looks like what's that?
It's a robot. It's a robot with a wiener.
The robot with a wiener.
He's got like a package. It wasn't my plan. It wasn't the plan, but there it is.
Was it a plan for him to like bleed in the back?
No, that's like fire because I'm so full of anger. Look at how angry I am. I want the city
to. So you didn't intend for a robot with a dick? Ooh.
No. Oh, good. Now that was my next question. Is like, what kind of language can I use?
Yes,
yeah, you can curse.
Although I curse too much, and it offends Lisa's mother, a few others. So I'm trying to keep my mouth a little cleaner than.
God forbid.
God forbid. I like, by the way, that your tattoo artist took artistic license with the permanent tattoo on your body.
It's probably. I mean, look, it's not his fault. I'm blaming him. When he drew it, it wasn't as pronounced, and then when he went into the shading phase, I mean, look, it's pretty pronounced.
It's pretty fun. Okay, and the other one, what's the other? It looks like some like
So this is all right. We're gonna get into real.
Who's
We're gonna
that?
get really okay. So there's this here. This is the pre. Ah, shit. Everything's backwards. All right, I can't
I
do
know
it. How do I
everything's
do it?
backwards.
All right, so this is a hat rack, right?
Oh.
I like silent film, and this is Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, and then poor Fatty Arbuckle's hats down here. And then this is a silent film camera because it's a very specific
Looks
film
like
camera.
a pineapple. It looks more like a pineapple to me. Or what was the other one?
It's got like all the sort of like diagram.
Oh yeah. Wow.
The camera that Max Sennett used. So that's getting in the weeds on dumb shit that no one cares
You're
about.
wow, you're like film buff, like
no. Oh wait, I gotta move my hold on. I want to move my you guys are on a second screen, so I'm not looking at you. Now I'm looking at you.
Now I feel seen.
See, I like looked at a picture of myself and I was like, I gotta comb my hairs before we started. So I went and I combed my hair.
And by the way, that's not a COVID beard. That's just your beard. You've had that for a while.
I give or take, I've had it for a couple of years now.
Here's what you used to look like.
I was just gonna say, just so you know, we didn't just intro you as a writer. We actually it was your Lisa's homecoming date. Look at Lisa.
The best part is that the shadows behind us make us look like our hair is huge.
This big.
Mine might be that big though. My favorite thing about it is how shiny we both are. I remember like this is like probably my first like dance.
Mine
ever.
too.
And I remember my mom was like, "Well, if we're gonna do this, we've got to do it right. We're gonna go to Rick Pollock, and we're gonna get you a sport coat." And so we went to Rick Pollock. You remember Rick Pollock?
Yep, on Ventura Boulevard.
Right. Well, it was like in like the weird neighborhood off of Ventura Boulevard, and so we went and we got a nice sport coat.
You're so cute. And the thing is, Dave and I never dated. We were always just friends.
Yep.
I mean, we really almost look like the same person in this picture.
And now look at us,
Lisa. I can't take it. Is that silver?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
By the way, that's my similar time. That was my prom dress. Was all silver. I looked like the Statue of Liberty, but all in like silver with a.
Lisa and I kind of, you know, when pastrami turns or corned beef turns and it's got that sort of shimmer to it.
Yes.
When it goes bad. That's what we look like.
I don't know that.
That's what I looked for.
Corned beef turn.
How many you got? Like one kid?
2.
At 3, you're starting to watch things turn. That's the turn. You forget about food. You forget about how life works. You forget about. I haven't shaved my legs in weeks.
I believe it.
By the way, me either, Dave. Me either. Hey, listen, Dave. So let's talk. Did you know you wanted to be a writer, specifically a comedy writer, when you were in Let's just go to high school.
Nah.
No.
Not even remotely. I mean, I've always written, but I've never I wanted to be an actor. I was going to be very famous. Clearly.
Can I say though, I think a lot of people in this business, writers, casting people, publicists, I think a lot of people start out in their heads wanting to be an actor and kind of jump into the business and then very quickly realize that they need to go in another direction because being an actor is shit.
Yeah, no one wanted to see this. Like no one wanted to.
Well, that's not true, Dave.
It's, you know what? I auditioned for a bunch of stuff and it didn't work out. But then, you know, I was in the sketch comedy. I followed Lisa into the Acme Comedy Theater, and I met my partner there, who I'm still partners with 28 years later.
You met your writing partner at Acme.
Yeah, his first day. And it was one of those things, we tell this story often where it's like we both do similar things physically on stage, both very physical, sort of weird stuff. And we both realized in that moment, like we can either partner up or we can be competing for the rest of our lives. And I think the latter, is it the latter or the former? The last one was the better version.
The former.
No, is that the former? No, the former is the first one.
The former is partner up. You said we can either partner up or compete. So you chose.
Oh, yeah, so it would be the former.
It would be the former. Okay, right. Fair enough. I don't know English.
Don't call me out on grammar.
Do you find it like, how is it having a writing partner? Does that benefit you? I imagine in a lot of ways. Did you ever think of just wanting to be solo?
No, because here's the thing about me. If I didn't have a partner, I would still be living in my parents' house. Like there would be no reason to get out of bed. I'd just be, I'm very lazy. I don't have any sort of ability to do things on my own. So having a partner for sure. And then also given the amount of insanity over the years, just in the shows we worked on, it's nice to be able to, like, if I'm going to give half my money away, I want it to be with somebody I really, really care about, and to be able to close the door and go like, that was fucking crazy, right?
Yeah.
And have those moments. You need those moments. You need to. It's like having a valve.
I imagine it would be nice to have. It's nice to bounce something off of someone.
It's
Lisa,
like paying a friend.
It is. Leslie and I are partners.
Yeah.
So but I just want to go back for a second because just to explain to people, Acme Comedy Theater is sort of like the little sister of the Groundlings. It's a sketch comedy troupe where we all wrote and performed our own material. Did you and Brett partner up as sketch writers there?
Yeah.
So you guys wrote sketches together.
So there was a day in class when there's a guy that runs Acme. His name is Mark David Sweeney. MD Sweeney. There is no more Acme. Well, there is an Acme now, but it's a different Acme.
Right.
It's a very different Acme. But there was a day where he was trying an experiment where he partnered people up and we had to write sketches based on news articles. And Brett and I found an article in the National Enquirer about there's an old Vegas performer named Bobby Barasini who had these orangutans that he would abuse. It came out that he was abusing them. So Brett and I were like, well, let's write about that. And it sort of like became a mainstay of our show.
When did that turn into, why don't we see if we can do this for a living?
Pretty quickly, because we wrote 2 sketches that were pretty well received. And then he remembers details far better than I do. But I think we had an interview for Pinky and the Brain or Animaniacs pretty quickly after we started working together, because Peter Hastings, who was at the Groundlings, knew Kathy really well, Brett's wife, and he sort of liked what we were doing and said, do you want to come in and pitch us some ideas? So
and then
did you start on Pinky or did you start on Animaniacs?
Animaniacs was the very first thing we wrote. It was like a very short cartoon, and then after that we did Pinky and the Brain, and we did I think we did 11 episodes or something like that. So yeah, and then there was a prime time. Many people probably don't remember there was something called the WB, Dubba Dubba, and and there was a prime time Pinky and the Brain for a hot moment that we were working on. It was our first staff job, and which was cool because we within weeks of being writers, we were in there pitching to Spielberg directly, which was its own craziness.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was crazy. It was such a weird experience. And yeah, we were sort of off and running off of that. We've been working ever since.
So that just snowballs into running a show like New Girl for 8 seasons?
7
seasons.
Snowballs in a very slow, drawn out, choking cough. Yes. Yeah, it's been about 20 years of hacking at it. I think we started in primetime in 99, and then what are we in now? 2000. That started in 2012. So yeah, took a while.
I mean,
amazing.
Wait
a minute. New Girl came. Didn't New Girl come after 30 Rock? Or is it
after? 30 Rock was 2000. We were on 30 Rock in 2006. I had to measure everything by when my children were born. So my oldest son Roscoe was born 2006.
When you when you were writing on 30 Rock, were you living in New York City or writing?
I was. Yep. We lived in New York. We lived in the Upper West Side.
Where did you live on the Upper West Side? I lived on the Upper West Side, but I think I left when you came.
We know where Zabar's is. We were right around the corner from Zabar's on 81st and Broadway.
Wait a minute. Where you lived? I lived on 81st and Broadway.
Shut up. Really?
What was your address? Were you on 81st or were you on Broadway?
We were on 81st.
I bet it's the same building.
No.
What's the name of the building? Do you remember?
I don't remember the name, but it was 219 West 81st.
I think my wife will remember. I have a feeling. I have a painting of it somewhere.
Well, look. So the corners were my apartment building and some little kind of like a drugstore. And across from that was Starbucks.
Correct.
Across from Starbucks was another, which was my favorite. Oh my God, I'm going blank on another kind of drugstore. And the other corner was like a bra place or a McDonald's.
Yes, right. Which were you between West End and Broadway? Or were you between Broadway and Amsterdam?
I was at the corner of Broadway and 81st, and behind me, just west of me, would be Amsterdam.
Okay, so you were on the other corner. So we were on the other side. We were between West End and Broadway.
Okay.
For those of you tuning in, this
I know,
is
we just
another
spent 20
edition
minutes.
of two Jews from the Valley who lived in New York for a little bit.
Wait, David, it's crazy because
That is crazy.
I left New York in 2005 when Ed was canceled, and then you came in
right after that.
Well, because there's that whole Jews from the Valley quota.
Correct.
Yeah,
one goes in, one comes out.
Right, only so many Jews in New York City at a time.
Exactly.
Sort of like how we go into like small bodegas now. It's only like 2 go in, 2 come out. That's how you get to shop in COVID. Yeah, it's the same idea.
Okay,
that's where they got it from.
So anyway. 30 Rock. I want to know. First of all, how that happened. How did you get that? Was it a tough decision to move your family to New York? And how smart and wonderful is Tina Fey?
Very beginning. So it was an easy decision for me, harder for Brett, because Brett's son was 11 at that point. And that's a tougher transition. And I think they didn't want to take him out of school. Kathy didn't want to move there, but they wanted to spend some time there. So they got a nice big apartment there. I had a much easier decision because my wife desperately wanted to be back in New York. And we talked about it. And then I had a conversation with Brett, and he was like, well, if we get a show in New York, then we'll go to New York. And then that came up literally a week later.
Oh, how funny.
And we got flown to New York to meet with Lauren, which was its own weirdness. And Tina. And then, yeah, my wife was 6 months pregnant. We drove cross country and got the apartment in the Upper West. And that was it. It was an intense experience. And as far as Tina's concerned, I'm covering my mouth. That's not good. As far as Tina's concerned, she's the real deal. She's brilliant. I have nothing but there are plenty of people on this planet I could talk shit about and will do readily. Not on.
Oh, really?
Not live. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Not kidding.
But Tina is one of the smartest, funniest people I think I've ever come in contact with. Her pursuit of the perfect joke is laser sharp. And I don't know if lasers are sharp, but you understand my meaning.
Sure.
And she acutely understood. There was a great moment in the room where she would shoot all day, and then she'd come in the room at the end of the day and work with us all night. And then if we would almost always still keep working, we'd all go back to, she had 2 apartments, one on 81st and West End, and then another one on the next block that was sort of a studio that she and Jeff Richmond had together. And we would split 2 rooms. One would go to one apartment, one would go to her apartment, and we'd work all night. And then she'd go I got to take a couple of hours sleep because I'm getting picked up at 6 a.m. She'd work with us until 3 a.m, sleep for 2 hours, get up, hear what we pitched, go right back to work. I mean, the work ethic.
Superhuman? Oh
yeah,
my God.
and she had a baby at the time. She had one baby. She had Alice at the time, and she was just doing it all. And if it was me, I'd be dead. That's the hardy Greek stock, I think.
So let me ask you a question, David, and then you can speak to this in all the rooms. So a writer's room, it's a very sacred place. It's a very interesting culture that most people, unless you're in a writer's room, would even understand.
Right.
Given what happened a few years ago with Me Too, has that changed the culture of a comedy writer's room? Because in a comedy writer's room, you can fucking say anything. You can be vulgar and nasty, rude, I'm sure racist at times. I mean, you kind of just throw everything out there. What's funny.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is it was a sacred place, and it still is to a degree. I do think that Me Too has definitely changed things in a very profound way. And look, it probably needed to change. It was off the rails a little bit. I think the Friends case definitely changed the telemetry of the way things are, and time has changed it. The negative aspect of it, though, is comedy is supposed to be a truth machine of some sort. It's supposed to be holding up a mirror of some sort, and it's harder to find those moments. It's not impossible. It's just different. It's very different. You're not going to get a Richard Pryor anymore. That's not going to happen. I don't know how a young comic coming up is finding their footing. But we definitely changed.
I wonder if almost like, when Prohibition happened and, underground bars popped up, I wonder if there will be comics who are kind of bucking the system and
Oh, of course there will be.
Yeah.
Comics for sure.
Yeah, it can't be done. And I also think that in a writer's room, eventually the pendulum will swing back a little bit, but probably never all the way.
No. And like I said, maybe it shouldn't, but it is that adage of the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's not going to change all that much. I think we just sort of have to be smarter. You can't just say stuff because you think it's funny. You have to think it through. And that's been my operating procedure since day one, is like, it's fine if it's just a shock joke, but that's not going to make it on the air. So let's not to circle back around, but that was also Tina's point, is like, let's be smart. Let's be smarter than we think we can be, and like keep drilling at it and make it better, because the smarter joke is always going to win.
Sure.
Okay, so the writers' rooms were at her apartment. So did you not have a writers' room at 30 Rock?
We did. We had a writers' room at Silver Cup Studios, and then when we were done, because it was just easier for her, and frankly, we all lived in that same little area, we would work until the sun came up, and then we'd.
I love that Tina Fey lived on 81st. I lived on 81st. You lived on 81st.
Yep, we could easily. She was 82nd. I take it back. She was between 82nd and 83rd on West End.
So Dave, I have a question, because I would assume that most of the people watching the show have no idea how the little parts of the industry work. Can you briefly explain? I don't know what this is. What happens in a writer's room in terms of how do you come up with a story, and then how does that story get broken, and then who writes it, and like, what is that process?
The Reader's Digest version of writer's room to set.
Okay, this is it's very different on every show. I mean, 30 Rock was very different than New Girl.
So tell us New Girl. Tell us how it worked on New Girl.
New Girl was in some ways easier, in some ways way harder. A lot of the stories that we broke were based on people. Like, we had a lot of single people in the beginning years, for sure. And a lot of the stories just came from us shooting the shit about what the dating scene was like early on, especially like, I mean, everyone was very honest, and it's funny, in a Me Too world, I don't know if we would have gotten away with some of the crap we said in there, but a lot of it was very honest, and some of it really painful. And then the trick was to find the funny version of it. But a lot of it was very real, like blisteringly real.
Yeah.
So the way it worked was, we would just talk, generally at the beginning of the day, what we like to call host chat. And
interesting.
And it wouldn't be like sort of a mandated thing. It was like, we're just going to talk. A lot of times there was something that we were working on, whether it was next week's script or the one that was on the floor, and I can talk more about that in a second. But we would come up with ideas at the beginning of the season. We'd have a big, thick packet of ideas. Everyone would pitch like 20 different, just like one-line things.
You have a giant whiteboard up?
And we'd have a giant board with tons of cards on it. And I'm like, oh, we like that idea. Let's move these pieces around. Every show has a version of that. So we'll just start breaking that story. On New Girl, it was a little different, where we would break it, then we break it again, then we break it again, then we break it again. We keep breaking it until it was time to not break it anymore. And then we would
breaking you.
Oh my God. in the most severe way. And then we would send somebody off to write it. It was usually, batting order, executive producer on down.
How many writers?
That show was weird. We had, at one point, I think we had 19 writers, including me, Brett, and Liz.
Wow.
It's completely an anomaly.
No.
So like, we would always have at least 3 rooms writing, working at any time. And then me and Brett and Liz would just sort of circulate around and meet with everybody. So you have to like put out a fire here, then you put a fire here. And then me and Brett were on set almost all day too. So a room would come down to us, they pitched to us, then we would send them off to another set to like work on something. It was a full-time, it was literally a 24/7 operation. And then when the script would come in, we'd kind of re-rake it again half the time. And we'd have a room that was just pitching jokes. That's all they were doing. There would be thick binders of like hundreds and hundreds of jokes. And the cast, I think at that point they started to rebel, because we would yell alt jokes over the wall, which was illegal. SAG, are you listening? DGA, are you listening?
I mean,
and we would yell stuff at them, and they would do like 9 different jokes, and then we would break it again in post. So it was like a nonstop.
I have to say, as an actor, I'm like, I already have agita.
It was a terrible way to do things.
That's
and
tough.
Part of it was Liz Merriweather, who's a very smart, very astute playwright, had never done TV before. Yeah. So she was in pursuit of a thing that she couldn't name.
Right.
And that became very difficult. And we kept saying, this is a marathon, just pace yourself. And it took its toll for sure.
I remember nights where you were like sleeping in your office.
Almost every night.
Oh my God.
I mean, I took 2 nights off for Trixie to be born. That's my daughter, not.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Listen, that's not unlike a lot of, especially in the 90s, early 2000s, a lot of shows worked that way. Ed worked that way. There were times where you're waiting, literally you're sitting on set waiting for lines. You're like, is there a script going to come?
Yeah, there were times when we had no script and we were like racing hot pages down to set.
Which makes casting, your poor casting director who's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I?
And the set designers, I mean, it backs up really quickly. So
I think that's such a fascinating thing though, to hear that like it really does trickle down. Like whatever happens in the writer's room triggers all this other stuff to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes
the writers never know.
Better for worse.
Right.
Never know what they're doing because how could they? The script that they read on Tuesday is completely different the following Monday. So it really is.
Did you at least have a solid writer's room season after season, or were you always turning writers over?
We had. We turned over.
That's a lot that complicates things too, because
a lot of people fell under the wheels of this thing. Yeah, for sure. And it was no fault of theirs. It was, look.
Well, I will tell you this from the outsider, and that's everybody. I mean, it obviously sort of, behind the curtain, it was a bit of a shit show maybe, but it was a fantastic show.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, sometimes it wasn't.
Listen, by the way, I think a lot of people can say that, sometimes.
Of course.
Everybody gets on each other's nerves. I mean, rarely goes without, some bumps.
Yes, definitely.
So I have a question about casting because
the show's over. You can't have a role. No, we're done.
Don't get me started.
Let's write a new show called Old Girls. We'll do that.
That's awesome. Max, who plays Schmidt.
Max Greenfield, yes.
His character is so specific. He mispronounces words. He's like a snob with no money. Everything about him is so different from every other character on television. How much of that was on the page when he came in, and how much of that did he bring to that character?
A lot of it was on the page. In the original draft, a lot of it was on the page, but it wasn't the nuance that he brought to the show that I think made it so interesting was that in the original draft, he was sort of a snob and he had come from money to a certain degree. Like that was what we were selling. I think very quickly, the thing that Max sells is this sort of bi-level thing where he's a poser. He was a heavy kid and he had a single mother who turned out to be a lesbian. And there are all these things that sort of played out over the course of seasons that I think he brought to the show very early. There was a pathos underneath it that like made that character saleable for 7 seasons. Yes. And he, people latched onto him immediately.
Well, he's so first of all, he's so funny, but like he really does have a lot of layers. All the characters on the show do, but he's super sensitive. He loves to love like men and women. He just is so loving. He's a total poser. He's a total snob.
Absolutely.
Like, it's so a douchebag, but then not.
Right.
Right. Well, and also fully acknowledging that he's a douchebag and knows what his shortcomings are.
Exactly.
But like built from a real heart. Like he loves Nick for a real, like he loves that guy. And then being able to like build from that over the course of seasons, that like that love was built on necessity. Like he had a need, that Nick sort of saved his life was sort of like a big deal for us. And I think it makes the writing process so much more enjoyable because there's a bottom note there.
Absolutely.
It's not just jokes.
Hey, Lee, David, by the way, I say David Finkel. Is it not David? Should we just call you Dave?
They're both versions of my name. It's
Anyways,
David, it's fine.
Dave, we're very fancy. We have a Facebook page. We asked anybody if they had questions for you. And of course,
Please.
someone had a question for you regarding New Girl. Lisa, do you have that?
Yes. Joanne would like to know.
Okay. Actually, it was her daughter that wrote it, Jenny.
Okay. Joanne's daughter.
Well, give Jenny her due.
Nobody gives a shit.
Okay, right. Nobody watches. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Jenny, this is for you.
They want to know, was there a hidden bear reference in every episode? I don't know what that means or why.
Nor do I. So
Yeah, I know what they're talking about. There are, not in every episode, Jenny, but there are a lot of.
By the way, mind you, Jenny's just recently out of college, so let's not make fun of a young girl.
I'm Jenny. I go to college. Whatever. I didn't graduate, Jenny. There are a lot of bear references, but I think it's because we were just trying to entertaining ourselves. But no, they're not. There's not one in every episode. There's a lot of bird references, bear references, and obviously cat references. Anyway,
yes.
So yeah.
Ferguson. Okay. Let's talk about this.
Let's do it.
The fact that Lisa's arms are.
Yes, that's a scene change. Yes.
The fact that David Finkel moved his wife, or probably more likely his wife moved David Finkel and their three children.
Right. You're
to Portland, Oregon.
Yep.
Where, by the way, we're there at least twice a year, so you're going to have some visitors.
A nice house with plenty of room. Come on down.
We can do that.
Yes. Well, but that's more Eugene, but still.
Right, but I was going back to this, remember?
Oh, right, yes. Yes.
Okay.
So
what is this?
This is an introitus.
This is the opening to a vagina.
It looks like a vagina, but I didn't want to be Me Too'd.
But then
we had a gynecologist on the show, and we learned introitus,
which is different than a cloaca, which I didn't know anything about until like a couple weeks ago.
What's a cloaca?
Chickens apparently have a cloaca, which is it's a whole, look it up. It's weird.
Did you already get chickens, David? You already have chickens?
No chickens. I just got the beard. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so how is what was the impetus for the move to Portland?
I went really high pitched. We've been talking about moving for a long time, and it was like just I don't know. It was one of those moments where it felt like, okay, we can do it now. Like I think I was, because of COVID, Brett and I have been working remotely anyways. We came up here to visit just rent a place and be here, just like hang out and go to the parks and go to the forest and blah, blah, blah. And we were here like, let's just go look at houses. And we looked at houses and we found one and I was like, okay, well, now's the time. That coupled with, I'm just tired.
LA's a shithole. That's
the exact right thing. It's
How
just brutal.
dare you talk about my home that way?
Mine too. My folks are still there, and it's a tough decision to make. But I think just based on so many details and the kids in school and life, I just wanted a little bit of a lighter touch to life.
Got it. So, you're lucky because your job, sort of lends itself to you can write from anywhere
The show I'm working on. I mean, we'll see. The show I'm working on right now will likely be shooting in Ireland.
Can we be in it? Sounds fun.
How's your brogue?
Mine's great.
Mine's awful. It reminds me. Anytime I think of an Irish brogue, I think of Lisa's brother. It was part of
the luck of the Irish.
It was like almost all he could do.
It was.
That's what mine is like. So, I mean, I could be anywhere. Like I did a writer's room in July. Was it July? I don't remember when it was, but it was me and Brett in LA, our partners in London, someone in Belgium, someone in Ireland. It's like, fine. I got up at 3 a.m, but it worked. It was fine.
And are you loving it? And are the kids loving it?
Yeah, up here, it's amazing.
How long have you been there?
We've been here since December 1st. So 2.5 months. Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, it's just a beautiful city.
Listen, by the way, the sun, it's February and I see the sun shining through your window. So
it's a very beautiful day, although it is very cold and it's supposed to snow later this week. So
It's always supposed to do some sort of precipitation there almost every day.
and it
Okay,
does. I mean, it rained this morning. It's fine.
we're going to let you go in a minute because we have a new rule. We're trying to keep the show shorter.
Wow. Okay.
But Dave, would you mind telling the Prince story? So Prince was on New Girl. He agreed to do the show. First of all, it's a magical episode.
It's a big one.
What was it like to freaking work
how
with
did you
Prince?
wrangle Prince onto the New Girl?
So I don't. So in season 2, we did an episode called Virgins, where everyone talks about their story about how they lost their virginity. And Hannah Simone's character, Cece, originally in the script said she lost her virginity to Prince. And we contacted Prince. I don't remember what the circuits were to get to Prince, but we got a note back from Prince saying, "I love the show so much, but I'm a Seventh-day Adventist now. I can't talk about sex. So if you want me in the future, let me know." So we're like, okay, well, that happened, whatever. Season 3 rolls around, and we find out we're going to do the Super Bowl episode after the Super Bowl. A lot of eyes on that. So they were like, get somebody big. We're like, can you get us somebody big? They're like, no, that's your job. Like, great, okay, great. So we trying to figure out what we're going to do. And we asked, Hannah had like remained, look, Hannah is one of the greatest people I know. I love her so much. And she fit Prince's bill perfectly. And she's, she's in a relationship. She looks like every woman he's ever dated in her own way. And
she's so gorgeous.
She's beautiful. And one of the most genuine people I've ever known. I truly adore her. I think she reached out to him and he was like, yeah, I mean, I'm going to paraphrase Prince here. And he said, yeah, I'm going to do a show. I'm fucking Prince. And he agreed to it, but it was one of those things where they like, everyone's heard these stories about Prince where he's like, yeah, I'll do the show. And then he doesn't do the show. Like there was an award show where there was somebody who was detailing just Prince. And he would say, the person would say, okay, Prince is 5 minutes away. Prince is 5 minutes away. He'll be here in 5 minutes. Okay, Prince is 2 minutes away. 2 minutes away. Prince will be here in 2 minutes. Prince is 2 minutes past here. He's driving away. And so we didn't know whether we had him. But
oh no,
I will say, we worked on that script for 6 months, and we had like the same group of people like doing that. And we would send him scripts, and we'd get notes, like emails back that were like, and we knew they were from him because it was like like a drawing of an I think that you have nailed this, but like, you know what I mean? Like Prince speak, and then
Prince speak,
and then he like started getting in the weeds on like, well, this is what Prince's house would look like, and he started sending artwork and wardrobe and stuff that he wanted in the house.
Did he speak of himself in third person? This is what Prince's house would look like.
I don't think he did.
By the way, I wouldn't put that past him.
No, I think that's a weird detail. I don't think he did. I think he talked about himself as if he was in the room, which is exciting.
Right.
On the day of, it was like, I don't know if he's gonna show. Who knows? Here we are. We had like hundreds of.
Did you have like a Prince lookalike just in case?
No, we literally had no
backup plan,
safety net, nothing. Like it was just okay. We're gonna try it. We had other celebrities in the show. The Kardashians were in it for a hot minute, and Clayton Kershaw, who no one knew at the time. I think he actually says, "Hi, I'm the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw." He showed up. We shot for 3 days. It all blurs into one, but he shot for 3 days from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. because the house we shot in was all windows, like almost 360 degrees. It was out there in Altadena, and it was this massive house. There was a bunch of shit that he wanted on set that didn't have to be on camera. There were like these poems that were on eggs, on these egg cutouts that he required to be on set. And I sort of half expected that like Prince would show up like in his jeans and a t-shirt, like, hey, where do I go?
Hey, because he's so New York.
He's very New York. Yeah, he's from Secaucus. He showed up as Prince, fully Princed out, shocking no one. And he, once you cut through he's got a cadre of people that like surround him at all times. But once you're at Video Village and you're just sort of sitting there, and he shows up. He's a very particular personality, but he was very warm for Prince, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Wow.
And he sat there and he just told stories, all night long. And he was bagging on Michael Jackson for being shitty at ping pong and basketball.
Oh my God.
And just a fascinating guy. And then every now and then he'd go up to his room and take a nap. And then when we wrapped on the third day, there's a beat at the end of the episode where he plays ping pong with Hannah. And at the end, as a tradition, when somebody of his caliber has their final moment, he comes out and we give him applause and whatever. And like they say, Prince, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap on Prince. Prince is standing on these little steps, and we all applaud him. And he's holding these ping pong paddles in his hands. And he goes, they go, Prince, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Prince. And then there's a pause, and he goes, "Can I keep these?" You're like looking into the middle distance. And we're like,
you can have.
They had his like symbol on it, so I get it to a degree, but it was also like, it was kind of a sweet little moment of, I mean, the guy's directed a bunch of movies. He came up with a bunch of bits in our episode. He knows his shit.
Prince.
He's Prince.
Period. Listen, did he sign anything? Any memorabilia?
He wouldn't sign anything. No,
Oh, really?
It didn't.
No. We got a sort of a thing ahead of time, like don't talk
ask
directly to Prince. Don't sign. Yeah, nothing.
But
I wanted
you
to
could talk directly to him, couldn't you?
Yeah, that was his people. So when
Okay.
he was there and sitting with us, I did make a mistake of
looking at him in the eye.
Yeah, I did look him in the eye. That was fine. But I got one of these where I was sitting behind him and I just wanted to know if he wanted my chair because he's Prince. And I'm going to do the impression for you.
Okay.
So I'm Prince.
Okay.
Sorry. This is what you're seeing. I'm Prince.
You.
And I'm also going to be me. And
Okay.
I at one point I just touch him on the elbow and I get one of these. Oh shit. Oh shit. And everyone sort of saw it and was like, and I was just like, I just want to know if you want a seat. And he turned back around and he goes, "Thank you very much." And then I got up and I sat down, but it was like the world stopped for a brief moment.
Oh
where it was
my
like,
And all
God.
his people were all like,
I might get punched by Prince.
we told you not to
What's
touch
so
him."
amazing is he's so diminutive, or
was just-
was,
That was
Tiny.
nice.
but for him, but probably insanely intimidating.
Yeah.
The amount of charisma that he brings with him that is just innate. There was a moment where, I'm sorry, I know you want to end this, but
Yeah, we're gonna kick you out in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Get it.
There was a moment between scenes where he was just playing an acoustic guitar sitting on a couch, and it was like there was no dividing line between where his hands met the fretboard. Like it was just magical watching him. I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, he's
So,
one of the absolute geniuses of our time, and
Oh my God. One of
I've
my
been such a
absolute
huge
favorites.
fan for so long,
Huge.
and to sort of be that close, and then like to have him come down and go like, "I had an idea," and then he's pitching you jokes that are amazing. You're like, this guy just knows who he is, which is a very rare thing.
Amazing. And you touched him.
And I touched him, and he was so mad.
He's mad. Can I just say though, sometimes it's the people around you that almost create more hysteria and more mishigas and all that shit. It's your people. It's
Absolutely.
you. God.
I mean, I'm sure he's got his thing, but like
I'm
definitely
sure.
the
But
maelstrom around
don't talk
him
to
was-
him. Don't look at him. Only have this
Yeah.
color M&Ms. Do this. Do that. Do
Yeah.
this. You create this, anyways.
Not to tell stories out of school really quickly. I know you got to go, but years ago, one of my first gigs in this business was I worked on the Flintstones movie, and I worked for the Jim Henson Creature Shop, and me and my friend Chris, they sent out memos to everyone saying Michael Jackson is coming to set today. No sudden movements. Don't look him in the eye like he's a deer or something.
Right.
No sudden movement.
And we were working on one of the puppets because it was in the next scene, and like we just saw a pair of loafers sort of enter our periphery, and there was that moment between me and Chris where we were looking down going like,
Don't look.
what do we do? Because it was just the three of us in a room together, and
They said don't move.
what are you guys working on? We're like, and then he just sort of got on the floor, and it was the same idea. It was like, once you get through that bubble,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
They're
people.
just human. I mean,
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
Superhuman, but human nonetheless.
Yeah, big time. I met them all, guys. I met them all.
You've worked with a lot of people that I've worked with and know, like Adam Bernstein, and was Lonnie Lonnie
Anderson?
Ross? Was that Lonnie Ross? Was he one of the characters on?
I was only there for the first season.
He was
Lonnie
a
was
writer
there.
on Ed. He came out of the Ed writers' room, and
Fucking kidding! Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that guy. He was great.
Totally.
We had a lot
Who
of
doesn't
great
love
people on that
Lonnie?
show. Everyone loves Lonnie.
Everyone loves
Yes.
Lonnie.
Lonnie.
Dave, thank you so much for coming on our show.
You're
So
the
much fun
best, Dave.
show.
I'm more than happy to be here. What else am I doing with my day?
That's so
well,
true.
I know. Do you miss us? Do you want us to come to Portland and visit?
I'm telling you, come visit.
Happy
There's-
to.
when you come up, please come. It's amazing, and I
would
can't.
love to.
I can't say enough about it. I'm so happy here.
I'm so happy for you.
Good for
Thank you.
you for getting out and still getting to work from there.
Yay!
And by the way,
Yay!
is your wife Marnie still making beautiful jewelry?
Yes, wilkinstudios.com. Go check it out.
Wait,
WilkinsStudios.com.
WilkinsStudios.com. I love
Studio,
jewelry.
Wilkins
Heard
Studio.
about that.
Singular.
Studio, singular.
Yeah.
Wilkins Studio.
Studio.
We will put the link under this video so that she will get tens of people seeing the link.
That's that. Look, traffic is traffic.
Totally.
And
Thank you,
her
Dave
jewelry is
Finkel.
gorgeous. Thanks, Dave. Let yourself
Happy to
out.
do it.
We love
well,
you.
guys.
Now you have to leave. It's our favorite part.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. We need to be in his new Irish show, even though
Totally.
neither of us have a brogue.
No, at all.
All
Okay, like,
So much fun.
subscribe. Look, I went right into it.
You did, 'cause you're like, let's make it short. Go.
Yes. Love Dave Finkel. We already said it. He's awesome, and that was great insight, and he's funny and fabulous. Like, subscribe, sign up for notifications, be a part of our Facebook page, The Leslie and Lisa Show After Party. Comment, ask us questions, all that jazz. Thanks for tuning in.
One of these days, we're gonna have a live IGTV, or no, IGTV is not. I don't.
Yeah, it's
I
yeah.
shouldn't talk about social media because I'm a moron.
You really shouldn't, but it's adorable and it makes you seem so much more human, Leslie, because right now you're more like Prince. Thanks for tuning in. Love you, Les.
I love you, Lise.
Bye.